Look at that good boy. Look at that good gator. Hi, Casper. How you doing today, huh? You show everybody your teeth? Look at those teeth. Look at those teeth. You being a good boy, huh? How's everybody doing, guys? I'm just hanging out in the pond with Casper after doing one of my underwater gator tours this morning. So we had a really good tour with a couple from Kentucky, and I always like to remind everybody you can come and actually do the tour and get in the water with me and Casper. Come hang out with us and be able to see an alligator underwater in a safe environment and get some really cool shots of you hanging out with him. So I just wanted to check in with everybody after doing the tour. Now, I'm also wearing my thicker wetsuit today, so it looks a little more awkward, but it's a little cooler out, winter in South Florida, so I'm definitely wearing this, stay a little bit more warm. And I'm always amazed, though, how he doesn't really seem to care at all when it's cooler out. Like, he literally doesn't even care. Which brings a lot of people asking about, you know, like their cold tolerance and what they can handle and everything like that. So alligators are actually the most cold tolerant crocodilian in the world. And these guys can actually handle freezing temperatures for a brief amount of time. And you'll see videos online where alligators are up north. And keep in mind, their northern range is all the way up in North Carolina. And so they can be up there where the lake or pond they're in can actually freeze over. And there's videos where you see them with their noses sticking up out of the ice, which is really amazing. So even the cold that we get here in South Florida is nothing for him. So even when I'm in here and I'm shivering and I'm actually pretty darn cold, Casper doesn't seem to care at all. Look at him, he's holding my hand right there. We're holding toes. Oh, his little fingers. He's got his head resting up on my shoulder or on my arm right there. Very cute, very adorable, just hanging out. And what I love is when he does this, how he literally does just hang out on me. And he'll just sit there and he'll actually put his body weight in. And like right now, you can see he's just staying. He's choosing to stay. I'm not holding on. And, you know, eventually he'll get bored and he'll swim off. But it's just so cool to see it when he hangs out like this. Which brings me up to the point. Everybody's always like, oh my God, it's like the crocodile Pocho in Costa Rica. So we get that one so often. We just did a really big YouTube video on our YouTube channel, Florida's Wildest, talking about Pocho in Costa Rica and the behavior and how people so desperately want to believe, like, you know, the Disney kind of like fairy tale of like, oh, well, he loves you. And that's why he's hanging out right there. He's not attacking you because he loves you and he has a mystical bond and our chakras are aligned and we hold crystals together and we love each other, right? No, that's not real, guys. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of good work with the animal, and it's getting the animal to understand that, you know, you're not a threat. You're not going to hurt them. They don't feel the need to defend themselves against you, and you work with them enough to get them to understand that you're also not the food source. It's a lot of factors like that, but those are the big ones. But I just really advise you guys go check out the video we just posted about that, where you go into very good detail and depth discussing that and my personal experiences and how it compares to that very famous crocodile in Costa Rica, and about not only my experiences with Casper but also my experiences working with crocodiles in Costa Rica and how I have some very similar ones, and it's just really cool, you know. But one of the most important points that I make in that video, and I want to make in this video too, just in case people don't see the other one, is how we have to use, like, you know, really rational, logical, critical thinking skills when we look at people's interactions with animals, and to not just assume that because I'm alive right now and he's not attacking me, what, he's behind you, why isn't he attacking you? It must be because I rescued him and he loves me for it and now he would never hurt me, right? Wrong. That's not it, you know. But we want to believe these kind of things. We want to believe them so badly that we often suspend our logical thought and choose instead to believe something that really doesn't make very much sense given our understanding of animal behavior. And so that's just one that, you know, I just really want to try to get people to understand very well and kind of, you know, think about things in that kind of like logical way and not just believe what we want to believe because it's fun or it's cute or it makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside, but try to understand like the reality more, you know. And like, I mean, look at him right now, just hanging out with me right now. But even though he is hanging out and he's not being aggressive or anything like that, you know, I don't try to trick myself into thinking that he loves me because of this or that he would never hurt me, because as much as I love Casper, he does not love me. And if I were to do something dumb, like right now, if I reached out behind me and like hit him in the face, he'd bite me in the hand, you know, and then he'd look right at me and he's got my hand in his mouth. He'd look at me and pretty high probability he'd rip my hand off and then eat it while looking right at me, and he won't feel bad about that. You know, he's not a pet. He's an alligator, not a Labrador. Oh, on that note, you know, we had a lot of comments from people. We've had quite a few police officers comment about, and this is pretty messed up. So a little trigger warning here or whatever. This one gets a little dark. But you know how I'm always saying, like, yeah, if I trip and fell in here or something happened to me, Casper would eat me. And people are like, oh, no, he wouldn't. And they're like, so these police officers comment and they're like, hey, just so you know, we've responded to where somebody, you know, a person dies in a household for some reason or whatever, and their own dog eats them after they're dead. Yeah, so that's one that a lot of people, I wasn't aware of that happening with dogs. I mean, there's not a single doubt in my mind that he would eat me. You know, if something happened to me and I passed out in here, he'd eat me for sure, no doubt about it. But I never thought that, like, your dog would. I've heard the stories of, like, you know, somebody goes down and their dog protects the body, which I assume, you know, is true and really does happen. But I guess what they're talking about is where, like, the person's been dead for, like, a couple days maybe. I don't really know. I don't know enough details on that. I don't know if it's to the point where the dog is, like, starving and he has to eat, which, you know, you could say is the same thing happens with people, like, in plane crashes. But it does bring up that point that, as far as how it was explained to me from one of these officers, speaking of officers, there's police sirens going by right now. But yeah, as was explained to me in one of these situations, the dog wasn't starving. Like, the owner had been dead for like a day or two, and, you know, you can go several days without eating. People don't usually eat people in a survival situation until, like, I mean, I don't want to, like, misquote here, but it's quite a while, you know what I mean? But the idea there is that things don't always work the way we want them to, you know what I mean? And, like, our idea of, like, you know, again, like the kind of Disney, like, he loves me and he would never hurt me kind of thing, it's just not real, even with animals that we love, like dogs. Speaking of dogs, you guys hear the wolves in the background too? So when the sirens go by, it gets our wolves howling. So we have some wolf dog hybrids here too. And I don't really personally work with them very much, so that's why you don't usually see them on my videos, but we do have them here. It's pretty cool. But anyways, I'm all over the place, guys. Sorry for all the tangents, but the idea there, again, is that, you know, he doesn't love you, that kind of thing. And even though I can have an awesome, like, working relationship with him, and, you know, he won't attack me or anything like that, he doesn't, like, love me in that way. And I do have to be aware that he's still a real alligator and he really does bite if you do something dumb. Now, on that note, he's not gonna, like, snap. You know, that's what people say all the time. One day, all the comments, one day he's gonna snap at you, and, you know, he's gonna flip, and, you know, this and that, and, like, that's not gonna happen, I promise you. I mean, I've been working with this same alligator for 13 years. He's never done that, and none of the alligators I've ever worked with have ever done that. They don't just one day they break and then they attack. Like, that's not how these guys work, okay? So, like, I have total confidence that that's not going to happen. But what I do know will happen is if I accidentally trigger, like, a feeding response or a defensive response. Like, he's not just going to snap one day and attack me for no reason, but he would absolutely bite me for a legitimate reason. Like, if I, for whatever reason, made him suddenly feel threatened by me, or I accidentally trigger a feeding response, like with my hand or something, like I accidentally bumped the wrong spot on his face, he would bite me. That's why, if you notice, I always touch him in the front of the face. I don't touch him on the sides, because he's a lot more sensitive and likely to bite on the sides. That's not to say you can't. I do sometimes, you know, but I'm much more aware of that, and being aware and careful about that situation. But I guess a good example too, as far as, like, accidentally causing one to become defensive, is, like, I've had situations where I'm, like, wearing something different than I normally wear, which, like, right now I'm wearing a different wetsuit than I normally wear with him, but he doesn't care. It's not bothering him at all. But I have had instances with other alligators where, like, I wear a different hat and they're like, who is that guy? You know, and they definitely treat me differently for the first couple of minutes, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's that guy, okay, you know, and they recognize me. But or if I wear, like, a big old rain poncho, I've had that one where, like, I've had an alligator treat me differently for wearing a rain poncho and like try to kill me. Like, I walk up and I expect him to be like how he normally is, and then he spins around and tries to bite me, and I'm like, whoa, you know, like, where'd that come from? And it's not that, like, he snapped, it's that he didn't recognize me, you know, and he turns to try to bite because of that. So I guess something I've talked about a lot, but, you know, just in relevance to this conversation, is that if an alligator does try to bite you, or doesn't try to bite you, whatever the action may be, it is going to have a motivation behind the action, and understanding that these are complex, intelligent animals and they can have a variety of motivations for any action is very important in understanding and preventing a certain behavior or allowing a certain behavior depending on what you're trying to do, right? So understanding these baseline motivations is what allows me to avoid getting bit, you know, and getting them to understand, hey, I'm not a threat, or I'm not food, or I'm not going to hurt you, and stuff like that. They get him to understand that, you know, he doesn't have to try to bite me for whatever motivation he might be trying to bite me for in that instance. I know it gets a little crazy and convoluted, and this video has been kind of all over the place, but I hope I'm kind of getting the point across and you guys understand what I'm trying to say there. And again, if you want to, please check out the YouTube video on our channel, Florida's Wildest, where we do talk about the famous Pocho, the crocodile in Costa Rica. Make sure you check that one out, and you know, leave a comment, let me know what you think and what you would like me to discuss further on this. You know, what kind of comments and questions you guys might have, and we'll come over here and say bye to Casper as we end this video, as he's such a good boy. There he is. Hi, buddy. Thank you for being a good sport and good boy. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.